Hello and welcome to this updated video around command, opportunities, and DocuSign. So we're going to take you through the fastest path to get DocuSign ready and to get you paid with compliance inside the system. So this is a step-by-step guide. I'm going to attach a link inside of the post and send this out. I have an interactive PDF with help articles all along the way. So we start with logging into command, which is agent.kb.com. And the first thing you do to be able to create an opportunity, which is a sale or a transaction, is to start with a contact. So I'm going to come here to contacts, and we're just going to add the simple and the basic and the quick for a contact. Mainly just name, email address. That's all I need if I'm going to write a contract with them. So for this example, I'm going to add, and we're going to add John Jones as my contact. I am going to go ahead and add his wife, Judy Jones. Now, she is not in the system yet. She's not a contact that I have, so I'm going to add her. This adds a contact really quick, but doesn't have any email associated yet. So I'm just adding two contacts, and we're going to give an email of johnjones@gmail. And the goal is to be able to email this out to my clients. Now, for legal reasons, if I need their legal name, you would come under Add More Info and About. This is where the legal name footer is. Now, today, it doesn't talk to command automatically as far as DocuSign goes, but it will in the future. So let's say his legal name is Jonathan. So Jonathan S. Jones. I would have that there under legal name. That is all you need to get started. So I'm going to create the contact, and we have other classes for more details. So, I already got that email in use. So I'm going to call him John S. Jones so that I can get that email to go through. Perfect. So now I've added John Jones and his wife. So I'm going to search by their last name for Jones, and you're going to see there's John and there's Judy. Now, John has an email address, but Judy does not. So I'm going to go ahead and edit her really quick. You click on the name and you come to edit. There is the relationship for spouse, and I'm going to add the email address judyjones@gmail.com. That's just a simple way to add contacts. And now inside of Judy, if I scroll on the left, here is John, and I can go back and forth. So we're going to stick with John Jones. My health score is 40% because all I have is a name and an email address. That's it. And I've got a relationship down below. So the way I approach this for an opportunity, now we're ready to say, okay, John and Sally want to, or Judy, sorry, want to actually sell their home or list their home. So I would want to create an opportunity for that transaction. There's a couple ways to do it. You can do it from opportunities. If the contact is already in the system, I like to do it from this record and come to opportunities here on the right. So we're going to create the opportunity. And when I create the opportunity, I'm going to choose which market centers for. If you're part of multiple market centers, you would choose which one. For this example, I'm going to choose my Fort Lauderdale one. And if you're part of a team, you would choose your team name and add that there. Then it's going to ask you what opportunity type. So this could be you representing it and doing a listing. I could be representing the buyer, landlord, or tenant. In the event you get both sides, listing and a buyer, it is two opportunities. You're never going to put the two together. So listing opportunity, and then if they purchase a home in the future, it would be a second opportunity. So I'm going to stick with listing, and here is John Jones. So I'm able to find my Miss Sarah Jones. So I'm going to type in the Jones name, and I will find her down below. Or sorry, it was Judy Jones. See, I've done a lot of these test ones. So Judy Jones. So now I've got John and I've got Judy. And then it asks you for the name of the opportunity. Now, ideally, we would like it to be the address. You do not need the city and state because they might buy more than one property, and this will help them identify which house is it or which property. So I'm going to put in here 5550 North Ocean Boulevard, Unit 7, Dash Jones Family. That's the way I'm going to name it. You can name it however you want, but ideally we would like the address here. It's going to help us for compliance reasons to find it in the future, and in the event my clients buy more than one property, this will help them find which one really quick. You can do custom tags as well. Think of it as a way to group your transactions. So I can do it for luxury if it was a luxury home, oceanfront. I can create my own and put substance. So I got one for Jones. I can put that in here. That will allow me maybe at the end of the year to run a report on how many opportunities did I do with the Jones family. or an LLC, or how many of my properties in this case that were listings were luxury. Then a close date. Now it's a listing, so I don't have a close date yet. You can leave it blank. And then it's a listing, so what is the list price? So I'm going to put in here 500,000. And this is ultimately how much commission will you get for this one transaction, not both sides. So ideally 3% would be what I'm getting here, and we're going to offer the buyer's agent 3%. That's because Command is going to track your actual opportunity of how much money you can make on this one transaction. Down below, you've got the phases. So a phase would be a cultivate, would be a lead. John Jones is thinking about listing his home, and he's a lead. We haven't set an appointment yet. I can create the opportunity of the potential listing and then keep following up with him. And then when he's ready, we would have an appointment together. And I would move it from cultivate to appointment. Then after the appointment, we would either sign the contract and have it go active. So then I would move to active. And then you'll have under contract and then closed. So the goal is to move it along the different phases. And on the right, you'll have different stages related to it. For the fastest path to get paid, we're just going to leave it as it is and just create this opportunity. So I'm going to say create opportunity. This is now created an opportunity under John Jones and Judy Jones. They will both show up and have an opportunity of a 1 here. In the event they buy a home as well or get another investment property, and as many transactions as we have, they're all going to live under opportunities so that I can quickly go to the contact and find every transaction we've ever done together. To get into this opportunity, we're going to view the details. So in our little guide that we've got here, this gets us basically to letter D, which is going into the actual opportunity. So in the opportunity, you've got your little details. And the way I look at this screen is it's kind of like a big giant manila folder. This would be my tab with the name and that it's a listing opportunity. Here are my contacts, so Judy and John. And by the way, you can click on their name and go to their contact record and go back and forth between the two, which is great. Then down below, I've got my details. So this would be a place for your general information. What can you tell me about this? And I can edit this with the pencil. So if I click the pencil, this is how you change the name. Because if it's a buyer opportunity, I may not have the address yet. That's okay. Put Jones Family Buying for now. And then when you get the address, change the name later. Plus, I have some new stuff now to say when I had an appointment scheduled, when did we keep the appointment, when did I get the contract date. These dates, by the way, are going to fuel your actual goal setting tool on the homepage, which is around your 2020 goals. Meaning when it says how many appointments did you get and how many appointments did you take and how many contracts did you write, that date is going to come from here. So that's how it's actually going to track in our goals. That's how I'd go there. And then, of course, on the right, you have the ability to add the property, which is going to Google and getting the address. And you can even do a mini seller worksheet. Not required if I'm going to just get to the fastest path to getting paid and getting my contracts in the system. Which leads us to our lovely letter D, which is going to the Documents tab. This is where we're going to have our files in. Now, when I come to Documents, you need to choose which checklist. So if your market center has more than one checklist, which we do, you would choose, is this residential? Is it condo, commercial, whatever it is. So we're going to stick with residential. It's going to say you're going to get it. That's okay. And this is now my residential checklist when it's a listing of what my market center requires for compliance. You're going to see in this list, these are not documents, they're just a placeholder. So think of this as a giant list of what is required for this transaction. So in the listed, I need a residential listing agreement that's required. I will need the tax record required. I'll need the MLS sheet required and seller's disclosure required. Then I have an extra option in case. So conditionally required would be if it's before 1978, condo disclosure if it's needed, HOPA, and these different ones. So those are optional. You'll notice when I go to under contract, I'll have the things that are required for under contract. So in the event you're double ending this deal, under contract is where I'd go to upload the residential purchase agreement, because the listed folder would just be our listing agreement. And then you'll have an option for closed. Here in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see start a transaction. If this button is missing, it means you have not connected DocuSign to Command yet, and you have to do that in the settings, which is under your name in the right-hand corner in settings. Check out our other videos. I have a step-by-step instruction on how to connect that. Mine's already connected, and I will have an option here. So you're going to see the option Start a Transaction. This is going to be letter E in the guide that I've emailed to you guys and sent out that you can download. Go to transaction. We're going to start the transaction, first, and then we're going to go to the transaction. So this is letter D first, then letter E. So here it says Start a Transaction, and I've got the option of DocuSign or .loop. What I'm going to show you next works the same. The only difference is how the inside of the contract systems work. So in order for you to initiate and link together these systems, you have to come here in an opportunity and start a transaction. If you do not do this step, it will not tie it in and automatically link the files over to command for you. So I'm going to stick with DocuSign, and it's going to give me the next letter, which will be the option to connect my room. So I'm going to log into DocuSign, which I have it saved on my computer. By the way, since we're here, make sure you're using Google Chrome. That's the browser I'm in. If you're using a different browser, it may work a little differently or may not work at all. That's the recommended browser we recommend. So I am now in DocuSign in what they call a room. So if you're new to DocuSign, a room is just like a loop in .loop. It's a place that you're going to access the files, the people, and get everything together, and it's where it lives. In the command side, I still have command open here. Notice now it says go to transaction, and in the event I'm ready to upload a contract here, when I add a file, I will have the option to connect to DocuSign and get the documents there. That's the whole reason we're connecting the two together, so you don't need to download anything, you just match it. So in DocuSign, you're going to notice in your guide, step 1, it starts you here in documents, but that is not step 1. Do not add a contract yet. You start, technically, step 1 is come to details first. Now, when I come here, you're going to see the details of the room and everything about the contract are on the left. So this is going to ask me about the address. This is going to ask me if I have the listing, what are the dates? Once I have the offer, when I get a high bid, what are the closing details, any additional information, and property details. So that's everything on the left. The right-hand side is going to be who is seller 1, who is seller 2, listing agent 1, listing agent 2, buyer 1, and buyer 2, all the way down to buyer agent 1 and buyer agent 2. So the right-hand side is who is going to be signing the contract. Don't add people who aren't signing. And the left-hand side is everything about the contract. Currently, no, it did not populate from command. However, it will in the future. We are working on that to auto-populate so I don't have to retype it in. The good news is the more I practice this, you can do this very quickly. And if you need to remember their information, it's on in the tab here in the upper right-hand corner of the opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and edit the details here. And we're going to give it an address because that's required. So 5550 North Ocean Boulevard. And that is Unit 7, Fort Lauderdale, Broward County. I will choose my state and 33308. That's it for this part. None of these things are required unless you need them on the contract. Listing details. So I want to put the listing date. That would be today's date. And I'm going to have it expire, let's say in 6 months. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll have it expire on the 6th of 2020. And we're going to list it at $500,000. It won't let you put the comma in there, so just type the numbers. And that's it. That's all I need for a listing contract. We don't have an offer yet. I don't have a high bid, no closing details. And at the bottom, none of this is really helping me fill out my listing contract. So then I move over to the right-hand side. This is where I bring in my sellers. Now, they're not here. And if you click this little button, it will only be people that you've already brought over. It is not actually going to sync with your contacts and command just yet. So I need to manually type them in. So this is Jonathan S. Jones, and only for this test purposes, I'm going to email it to myself so you can see how to sign this. Please do not do that with your clients. Use their email address, and if they don't have one, go get one. You never want to end up in a courtroom and someone say, I didn't sign that because it went to someone else's email address or yours. However, for this testing purposes, I'm going to send it to myself. And I recommend you practice trying this out with yourself, with a spouse, with another agent, so that you get familiar with the system. So all I need is their name and their email address. Seller 2 was Judy Jones, and we're going to use my email address again, Please don't do this in real life. You're going to use your actual client's email. And then listing agent is me. So I'm going to put myself in. And I've got my email address, which is different. And I will put the company name in for right now so that it actually populates into the contract. I will tell you today, we will eventually have that autofill in. So it's a minor little annoyance today, and I can't wait for it to auto-populate in the future. So I'm going to click Save. And now I am done with step one. I've entered the details. When I add the contracts, which we do next, it will then auto-populate this information into it. So now I'll go to Documents. This is where you add a document. Your options are to add it from your computer if someone emailed you a PDF and you need to add signatures to it, or if you need to get a form, you would come to DocuSign. Now, some states and offices may have been using zip forms as a workaround until DocuSign has all their state forms. And you can also use online storage in the event you have files or contracts there. For this example, I'm going to show you from a DocuSign standpoint. Again, your state may not be ready for it yet, but at least you'll see how this is going to work. So when I choose DocuSign, if this is your first time connecting to it, the system will ask for your NRDS ID, your National Realtor ID. You will need to make sure that that's in the system, and if you have any issues around connecting it or an error message that says the last name doesn't match, check out our video that we have already in place on how to fix that. You can correct it. You do not need to call DocuSign, and you do not need to call KW support. I've already connected mine, so it will verify with the state that I have access to these forms. Now, you're going to see it defaults to the forms library, and in my world, that would mean the Florida Association of Realtors. This list could be your office forms, state forms, or your area forms. So for us, we only have access to the state forms, and if I click on it, I have 160 contracts and addendums and everything the state provides us here inside the folder. Now, it's a little cumbersome to find what I'm looking for, so if I switch this to group, my Market Center spent time and put together what we call packets of information. So if I come to the listing packet, instead of looking at 140 contracts and addendums, it is only the ones that I might need for a listing. This does need to be set up by your Market Center. You cannot set it up, so get with your MCA or your compliance person if they need any help. I do have videos on YouTube on how to do that from the office standpoint as well. So for this example, I'm using the listing packet and I'm going to add my listing contract. And just for this example, I want to use a real-world example of a seller's disclosure. Some property disclosures are not allowed to be filled in electronically, but in Florida, we can have our sellers fill this out. So I'm going to add those two. Now, you notice there that was only the state forms. So the office forms I have about wire fraud or my title company alliance, anything I might have, are not going to be found in documents. So we have to have DocuSign put those things in there. You're going to find ours in another spot called templates, which I will show you here in a few. So this is step one was the details. Step two is documents, which I added. Now we click on the document, which is step three, to actually edit it. So I'm going to fill in the listing contract and complete it. This is just data entry, you filling in the details. So you're going to see it auto-populated over from my settings and details there. So here's the info I already typed in, and then I would just fill in the other blanks. So if I want to make sure we're doing cash only, maybe conventional and FHA, I can do things like go through here and select stuff. Please note you will not see signatures. This isn't the signing portion of the system. It is simply data entry and filling in the contracts from the state or your board. So I'm going to come in here. I don't need any of those things. And I'm going to go ahead and put in, for this example, 6% commission, maybe a $3.95 transaction fee, whatever you want to put. You fill it in, get with your broker or one of the agents to figure out how to fill out the contracts. So I'm just going to say for this example, I filled in everything I need to. I am going to check the box for email here. And I've got everything I need for the data entry part. So I'm going to save it. That just fills it in so I have all the data filled in. On my condo disclosure, I've already checked it here in Florida and there's nothing for me to fill in. It's only fillable by the client. So I can view it, but there's nothing to type in. Some of them may let you type in the address, but that typically isn't needed. Everything on these seller's disclosures should be filled in by the client. Oh, here we go. I can do their name field. That's the one thing they let me edit. So that's already done as well. I don't need to save and close it. Okay, so that was step three. Now we need to select these to do the signing. Notice when I hover my mouse, you get a circle. So I'm going to choose a circle, and then you get your controls over here. I can copy this, move it to another opportunity room. I can email this to somebody. Let me just tell you, that's the fastest way to get a PDF or a file from here to like your mortgage person or title company. Just use this email feature. It'll be much faster. Put in their email address, give them a message, and you'll see it actually physically attaches to PDFs. If you do it in the e-signature part, it works like Dotloop, where you have to click a link, go to a website, and physically try to hit a download button. It's not very user-friendly. Just use that button if you're sending a copy to someone. I've also got the ability to combine PDFs. You can also right-click and split apart PDFs as well. And DocuSign is the part we're going to do. And just since we're covering the toolbar here, you've also got the ability to archive and unarchive. And as a tip, here is how you get to the archives in the event you archive it so you don't see it. Right now, we're looking at just active. So we're going to choose DocuSign to package this together and send it over to my clients. So what they do in our world is they're going to package this into what we call a digital envelope. So think of it as digital contracts being placed in a digital envelope that's going to be then sent to the client for signing. Here is the envelope details. So there's the room name, and I'm actually going to copy part of that. And you're going to see the envelope has a name, please DocuSign. This doesn't tell them anything. Change it to the address and what is physically in this envelope. So this is going to be our listing paperwork and seller disclosure. This will help me find it in the future in case I have more than one envelope. So name it. This will be important in the future. Then you have your add documents to envelopes. So here are my documents. I can view them. You can also download a copy or print them. So I can see this has all been filled out, and now we're just waiting on signatures. Now here on the right, in case I missed a form, I can come to room and go there and check the box in case I missed one of my forms. You can also come to more and upload a file. So if you have like a lead-based disclosure and you want to give them the pamphlet or any PDF you want to add, you can add it as well. It can also be fillable. So this is just a place to upload what you want. And if your market center created templates or you created templates to use over and over again, like a pre-filled contract that has your information and you just want to fill in some info, this is where you access it under Use Templates. Now, I created my own under here, and if it's the office sharing it with me, it'll show under Shared with Me. Now, I am part of 3 market centers, so you're going to see I have forms for Coral Springs, Aventura, and Fort Lauderdale. For this example, I might have from my office something about our Title Alliance agreement, and I'd want to add that to make sure I disclose to my sellers that I have a relationship. So I'm going to add this here. You can do your own templates as well. I just want to show you, this is where you're going to go to add a template. So it's a little different than Dotloop where you went to documents and accessed your stuff there. You're going to access your things under templates. And if you need help on how to create a template, whether it's for the office or for the agent, check the YouTube videos. I already have those in place as well. So we're going to add recipients to this envelope. This is the most important step. Look on the PDF I sent you. Step 5 literally is highlighting the fact that this is important. If you skip this, you will have trouble. So you're going to get an option to add a recipient. If I choose the state forms, I need to select pre-tagged roles, which lets me match who is listing buyer 1 or seller 1 or who is the listing agent, those fields. If you skip it, the contracts will be blank with no signature boxes because it won't tie in who is who, and you will manually have to add every text box and every signature. So I always say use pre-tagged roles first. So here are my roles that are possible. Seller 1, I'm going to come in, you're going to see seller 1 is in the list. There is Jonathan Jones. Seller 2, here is Judy. Because they're here, by the way, I enter them under details. If you skip the details screen, there won't be people here to select, so you have to do that first. So here's Judy, and then I am the listing sales associate. There is a trick. You notice it said listing agent 1 and listing agent 2. If you need your broker to sign and they're not in there, you would add them as listing agent 2, and then I'd have my broker name here to select. I don't have a buyer 1 and I don't have a buyer 2. So these are the only 3 people I'm going to have sign. So we add selected. I've got the name of the envelope, I've added the documents, now I'm adding the people. You're going to notice here it gave everybody a 1 next to their name. That is the ability to actually do the order. So right now it means all three of us would get the signatures at the same time and we can sign whenever we want. However, I won't see if anyone else signed until they sign. If you want to control that, like I want seller 1 first, then seller 2, then seller 3, or whoever, you would actually give it a number. So I'm going to say, you know what, let's do it to John first, then we'll go to Judy, and once I know that both of them have signed it, go ahead and send it to me. Here is your ability to change it from needs to sign or view only. Again, I wouldn't use this part of the system to send a copy to somebody. I would use the document side just to email them a PDF if they want to view it. So here are my 1, 2, and 3. And just because we do work with trust or people that might need seller 3 and 4, you can add seller 3 or 4 if you come here to email address. They won't have a role, so they're not going to call them seller 1, seller 2, or seller 3 or 4. However, you could do an email address to Mickey Mouse and add Mickey Mouse to the list and have him be seller 3 or buyer 3 or whoever you need. It literally is just a box, and you will have to add the signature, but you can do it from here. So I'm just going to stick with the 2 sellers and me signing this. Then you get to the last step of this part of it, which is labeling the email itself. Please put something in here because the email from DocuSign is a little vague and they won't know what it is. So I'm going to copy my header of the envelope name and I'm going to put this here. Please DocuSign this information. And then you're going to leave an actual message. This will help them. Please review and sign. Contact me if you have any questions. All right, so then I've got that there. There we go. Thanks, Jay. You're going to see when I get to the email what this looks like, why you're going to want to put a message. So that would be what we would call my steps through 1 all the way down to step 2 we got to. So now we're on to number 6 of this. So I'm going to click the next button. That's where you see the contracts with signatures. It doesn't send it yet. You're just going to click next. In the event you needed to modify something or go back, you can always save and come back to this envelope. So I'm going to click next. Click it a second time because the first time kind of gets it ready, and this is going to open up DocuSign with all our signature boxes. My intention of this is to verify that all the boxes are where they need to be, and if I needed to add anything, I can also add or remove stuff as well. So I'm going to open up the contract here, and you're going to see that it's got my signature boxes already in place. What I love about DocuSign is on the right-hand side, here is a thumbnail, and notice it's got those little like post-it tabs here. So I have 3 of them telling me in this contract, we have a box for seller 1, 2, and listing agent. So that's telling me seller 1 is yellow, seller 2 is blue, and I, as listing agent, am purple. And see how it fills it in here. So each of these pages has the ability for them to sign. On the left-hand side, this is your ability to choose who is who. So I've got Jonathan in yellow, and I can drag any field here in yellow for him to auto-populate or to fill in. I've also got Judy in blue, and same thing here. I can do her signature or date and drag those things in blue. And I'm in the contract, so I can add myself as well. Same concept. Bring over anything you need to from the left side, already assigned to you in the right color. So for this example, I've got everything I need here. So I'm going to go ahead and there we go. I've got my 3 boxes the way I need to, and I'm going to come here. Now, in my state, my broker, typically we don't use this section here, so I don't need them to actually sign. And you'll notice I can click and select these, and I can either move them, you can stretch them, you can move it around the way you need to, and I'm just going to hit delete. Just hit the delete key. It'll remove anything you don't need. So I don't need those there. I've got everything filled out. I've got my signature boxes the way I need to. Let's say for pretend purpose that I have a 3rd seller here, you would have them in the list. So there is me. I'm going to go ahead and just say maybe I need to initial as seller 3, and I'm going to get an initial box, and I can put it where I want. I'm going to put it right below it, and I'm going to shrink this down to fit right below their signatures. So you're going to have the signature box there. Now I also would need to add my name to this contract, so I'd have to go up and add it there. Here's what's neat. If you copy this with Control-C or Command-C on the Mac, it copies it, and if I go to another page, like the one above it, and paste it with Control-V, it will paste it in the same spot. I'd also want to add my name here next to seller. So I would have that name field filled in, and I would have seller 3. And then I can go down to the next column and make sure that's there. Copy and paste the next one, Control V, next one, Control V, and you can see how you can do that. For this example, I'm not really doing it. I just wanted to show you it is possible. By the way, in my state, we do not use that part, so I'm going to remove those signatures. This system really is kind of a hands-on, click and play, try things out, and you will get better at it as well. I've been teaching this now for about 4 months, working with agents, writing my own contracts, and that's why you see me kind of going fast through this. There are a lot of little nuances and tricks, and once you know it, you can really fly with it. So I've got everything I need there. Those are all good. Everything's here. Now notice it has a date signed. One difference between Dotloop and DocuSign is the fact that when they do this, it doesn't automatically add a date to the signature field. You will get a certificate of the date and timestamp, so it's still legally binding with the date and timestamp, but if you want the visible date and timestamp on the contract, you have to use the date signed little box, which they've already added here. And one thing I'm learning here is I want to make sure I have a copy returned to the seller. Once this is signed, they will all get a copy. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and use seller 1, and I'm going to go ahead and add a date signed here. So once it's been signed by everybody, it will actually then put the date on there for me. Then you're going to get to the seller's disclosure. Notice it's in yellow, which in my world means the only person that can fill this out is seller 1. So if you're using that and you're in Florida or you're in another state, look at which color it is to see that only seller 1 can fill this part in, which means I would want to make sure seller 1 fills it out so that then seller 2 just initials. It's already highlighted for them to fill out and has everything that they need. So I'm verifying that everything's where it needs to be, adding or removing anything I need to. And then the last form is the one I uploaded from my office. So I created this template for my market center. If you guys need help or your market center needs help, let me know and I'll help them. So here I've got my full name already in the box, and then there's going to be seller 1, seller 2, and everything is here. So I've added everything I need, and here's the neatest thing. You can preview this before you send it. So we're going to do Recipient Preview. I can now look at this as Jonathan or Judy or myself, and it's going to let me look at it from a desktop, tablet, or a phone on what it's going to look like for the consumer. This is great, really, just to verify for yourself, and if you're consulting with your client, show them how easy it is for them to sign. That will make them comfortable if they're not very comfortable with those signing. So I'm going to say start here, and it's going to take me to the first box, and I'm going to pretend to sign. It's not a legal signing, so if I click this, it'll show the seller that they're signing the right boxes, and you'll see it just says initials. It's not an actual signing thing. So you can just preview that it's got everything it needs to. And for this example, I'll show you the preview for Jonathan is he can actually fill this in. So I want you to practice this and get comfortable so that you then can get comfortable teaching your clients how to use it. I'm going to switch over to Judy, and you'll see she's going to have the same experience, except she cannot fill in the seller's disclosure. All right, I got Judy loading. I'm going to click start here, and Judy is going to sign her boxes. And I'm going to go ahead and just scroll down for this example and show you in the seller's disclosure that she will not be able to actually fill it in. It's going to be populated already. So when she comes down here, it's got her info in it, but she cannot actually click on a box or fill any of these things out. Sorry, it was up above. So notice none of this is clickable. However, it will show her if seller 1 finished it. That's the preview. So when you're done, you click send and it sends it out. So I'm going to go ahead and click send, and we're going to send this out to our clients. This has now sent it out. So the goal is to send it out, and just so you guys can see kind of what happens with this, I'm going to do a quick signing so that we have an executed listing agreement that I then can put into command. So I'm going to flip over to my email system here, and I'm going to pull up my email. And I want you to experience what the client's going to see. So I'm going to come, and you're going to see that I will have the paperwork for my clients in my email right here. Jay Cermak via DocuSign. Please DocuSign this address, Unit 7. And I put the name in the subject. See how that helps them know what this is? And then DocuSign just says, Jay sent you a document review. So if I don't have a header and I don't have a message, it's kind of vague and they probably won't click on it. Just tell them what it is and what's going to happen. So here's my please sign, thanks Jay. My contact info is on here and everything's filled in. So I'm going to review and sign this as the client. Again, this is for training purposes. Please make sure you use your client's actual email address and have them do this themselves. However, you should practice with yourself or practice with somebody so you get comfortable doing this. I'm going to open this contract and sign it as John Jones. Then I'm going to then get access to it there as Judy, and then we will finally sign it as me. This is how DocuSign works. Please review and act on these documents. You agree to use electronic signature, so I'm going to say agree to that, and then you would continue. This takes me to there, and I'm going to see, okay, start signing. Here's everything filled in, and it takes you to the first box, and it's going to ask me which signature style do I want. So here you can actually select your style. You can change your style, by the way, so if you like a different signature and say, you know what, out of all these, I think this one looks the most like mine. They can also draw their own, so that's here and all that fun stuff, and they can even upload one from another document if they have it. I bet most people are just going to click the first signature that comes available. Here is what this one's going to look like. So I'm going to say adopt an initial. Then my client goes to the next box. Let me scroll up here and show you. There's the initial. Notice no date and timestamp on it. So if you want that, you want to add the date sign field. So I'm going to click on this one, that one. I'm going to skip one just to show you it will not let me go submit until I do it. So here's the seller's disclosure, and this client can fill it in. Owner occupied. I'm going to say don't know on things just for test purposes, but you would encourage them to actually fill it out digitally. And don't be stressed out if the client is not comfortable doing that digitally. Remember, these can definitely be done by wet ink. Just give them a copy, and when they're done, scan it in and have them do it as a PDF. So I'm just showing you that all these boxes are fillable by the client. I'm going to initial that one, and that one here. And then my last one, and then notice it takes me right to the top. If I hit finish, it will actually warn me, nope, you're missing something. So we're going to click on it there. Now I've got everything done. We're going to say finish, and now it's been signed. And here's what's really neat. I just got an alert on my watch and my phone from the DocuSign app. If you download the free DocuSign app, it will alert you that somebody just signed something. So I got alerted that it's been signed, and it's going to encourage your clients to create an account. Just like with Dotloop, encourage them to do it one time, and then it will just remember for them. So I've already done it. I'm just going to click the X on that one there. So now when I come back to my email, guess what? Judy now gets her email. Clearly this would go to Judy's email, but now it's Judy's turn to sign. Same message, but now she's going to see that everything's been signed by Jonathan. So we're going to review that document. Process will be the same. Judy would choose her signature. She's going to agree to it electronically and continue. She's going to come here to the contract, click start, go to the first box. Notice there is Jonathan's signature, the one he adopted. She's going to initial and choose her signature. So we're actually okay with that signature. And again, I can change it if I want. So adopt an initial. That's that box. It's going to take me to the next one, the next. Now I want to show you the seller's disclosure is filled out. So everything's checked here, but I can't check it and change it. So if anything needs changed, you have to do it with seller 1. So we're just going to initial all these boxes. And now I've got seller 2 signed. So I'm going to say finish, which now means it's our turn. So in my app, I just got alerted that it's been signed by them. They'll have no more emails yet, but once I have signed, they will get an email of it executed. So we're going to come back to DocuSign, and I'm going to show you that you can actually do your own signing in DocuSign. You don't have to leave the system if you don't want to. Everything lives for a signature inside an envelope. So if you need signatures, you come to the envelope. It takes about 20 seconds for it to update once they've signed, and then the system is going to tell me now it's waiting on my signature. So I'm going to click on the envelope. You can also just click the email that it sent you, and you're going to see it says these 2 have signed, and it now says need you to sign. Click here to sign. We're going to sign now as the agent. So I'm going to click here to sign as me. I'm going to click on the allow my location. I've already agreed to the terms earlier. We're going to hit continue, and I'm just going to go to the first box. Click here. You're going to notice everyone's signature is already there, so now it's just my turn. Click there. 3, 4, and that's it for me. I'm going to click finish. Congratulations, your clients have signed, you have signed, and now you have an executed listing contract. The neat thing is I just got alerted on my watch and my phone from DocuSign that this has been done as well, which is really exciting. And I wanted to show you what the consumer just got. So here's the consumer, and good news, they just got an email with the actual attached PDFs. How cool is that? So you'll see here in the listing contract, if I come in, it's all signed and they got an instant email with the PDF attached and even that date and time stamp I talked about. So that means my clients got it, and I can come back here now, refresh my envelope, and in Command, we now have a executed contract. So when I come to Documents, now you're going to notice some different files. So the blue is your forms, meaning this has no signature attached, and if I ever had to erase the signatures and rewrite the contract for some reason, it's still here. The green is what was signed and executed. So if I click here on the green signed, it's a PDF with everyone's signature flattened. It doesn't work like Dotloop where you click on it and it erases everything. So there we go, all our signatures are in place, and the red will be PDFs themselves. So DocuSign gives you a certificate of everything that's been signed legally to show you, hey, we have a synopsis of who signed what was their IP address, and when did they do it, when did they view it, and everything that happened. So that's really neat, and that's how it works there. Here is my contracts. Now we're ready for Command, and the last step of this for compliance is to go back to Command and send this to my Market Center leadership for compliance. So we're going to go back to the Command tab now. And if you forgot how we got here, you can get in through the contact, or you can come to Opportunities. You go to the Opportunity, and we went to the Documents tab. So for listings, I know I need my residential listing agreement, or whatever your Market Center called that file. So I'm able now to say Add to File. I can also just manually add one. So the storage of files really in Command is this. You store your files here. It's not going to be stored from our office standpoint inside of DocuSign. So I can manually add a PDF of my own if I got an email from someone. You do not need to put it in DocuSign, by the way, if you don't need a signature. If you just want to attach the file for compliance, you just put it right here and drag it. We're going to choose DocuSign, and here is everything from the DocuSign room. Now, in this case, I'm going to be looking for my listing agreement, and here's the one that says signed next to its name. So the neat thing about DocuSign is it just says signed or sign, no matter how many times you use that same form to add more signatures. So we're going to choose that one. I'm going to assign it, and it's going to import it into Command for my compliance people to read. So here we go. It's uploaded. Here's the requirement, and then this little link allows me to view the document. So I'm going to click on it and show you that I'm verifying that I have the executed listing contract with the signatures for my compliance people to see it. You can also print and download a copy of it right here. Now, I also added the seller's disclosure, so we're going to go get the seller's disclosure this time. DocuSign, and there is my seller's disclosure. Here's the version of it signed. So I'm going to assign that. I also have another file that's not needed until we get to under contract, so I can go under contract and add the affiliated business disclosure, and I can add it there as well, even though it's technically a second there you go, a second checklist, but it allows me then to just make sure I got all my files in place. If I have done everything else, then it would be good there. So now what I would do is submit this to my Market Center. So clearly make sure your requirements are in place. For training purposes, I'm going to click Submit to Market Center. Are you sure you want to submit this for review? Yes. If you do not do that, then your Market Center cannot view and approve your files. So you must do that step. And if you're following along in the PDF, that technically is all of our steps to get us directly to the compliance side so that we can then eventually get to our green sheets today. And in the future, we will then move on to the commissions tab here, which will replace the green sheets eventually. For now, this is the fastest way to create this. You start with a contact, you create an opportunity, you start a transaction with DocuSign. We went to DocuSign and did our details. Then we did our documents, and then we created an envelope for signatures. We got everything signed, we filled it all in, and then we came back here once it was signed to upload it there. So I'm going to show you in this part really quick what happens when it gets to compliance. So I have access to the compliance of this, and I'm going to go through and approve the files just for training. So here it's submitted, and these documents are here, and it's grayed out as submitted. Now you can come in case you need to replace this now and say replace. You can look at the version history of how many times you replace this file. You can also print the file from there. I'm now going to go in as the Market Center. So if you're Market Center leadership, this would be the part you're going to do. And if you're an agent, this is what's happening that your Market Center is going through. So Command Market Center, I'm going to go into Opportunities, and this is where they go to look at your compliance requests. The most recent compliance request will show up at the top. See how with the address, it helps me find it very quickly. So this is my ability to see, okay, here is the listing we submitted, and I can now review it for compliance. They're going to come here and review, and here are the documents. The view looks the same as yours is. The difference is they have to review to approve the file. So the Market Center administrator or your compliance coordinator is going to come in here and verify, okay, we got everything there. Everything looks good. Okay, we'll approve that document. Then we're going to come here and go to our next document, the seller's disclosure. And just for this example, let's pretend, oops, it doesn't look like section 4 is filled out. So I'm going to reject it. And we're going to say section 4 is blank. Please have your clients fill it out. And we're going to reject it. So now I've got one approved, one rejected. And you're going to see in the system, it's going to give it approved in green and rejected in red with a message right next to it that section 4 is missing. Now, the compliance person just changes this from submitted to returned. If it was good, we would say approved. So I'm going to say returned, and now it's been marked return in red. Here's what happens for you as the agent. If you come to the home screen there, you're going to see that you've got a little bell here telling you that you've got a notice now. So when I come to command, if you're an agent, you're going to see a little warning here. Today, it doesn't email you just yet. We're working on that. So what you can do is come here to the bell. I'm going to see my notifications, and I'm able to see, oh, the compliance has returned this. Oh, no. So I'm going to click here to view the details of it. That will actually just take you to the opportunity directly. So this is new. This is how we now notify you. Just look for the bell to see if you have that little notification. So here I'm back in the documents. This is the right opportunity. And you're going to see this is returned. Okay, this one's approved. This is rejected. This in section 4, I don't believe that. So I'm going to click here to view it. And oh, there's the message again. I'm going to go down to section 4 and be like, oh, nuts, you're right. I'm missing it. Okay, which means now we need to change something. So here's how you would change it. If you're the agent, you would probably just go back to the contract and make changes. So we're going to go to the transaction. This is also real world. How do I modify a signed contract? So we're going to come back to documents, and here's the neat thing. I can then take this version. So let's say we're changing something on the listing contract. I can select it and do DocuSign again. It's a separate envelope, separate signatures, and it will not erase it the way Dotloop erased it. So I'm going to say, okay, let's make a change. DocuSign. This does the same process, and it flattened that PDF to a PDF, meaning there's no signature boxes. I just have to add them. But it retained the signature boxes originally. So those are there. I'm going to give it a name just for this example. We'll say test. I've already got the file, and then I need to add my people. Now, I can go to room participants because that's where they are for seller 1 and seller 2. So here's Jonathan, and there's Judy. I need them to initial the change. However, if you have seller 3 and 4, they won't be in here. So if you do seller 3 and 4, you would add a recipient by email address. So I'm going to leave them both on 1. Actually, we'll change it 1 and 2. You would do your email signature. So I'm just going to put test, just for testing purposes. And I'm going to click next, just like we did before. This is now your ability to take any PDF and quickly add signature boxes, cross things out, and modify the contract in any way. Now, I know every state is different. Do not take what I tell you next as legal advice by any means. You're going to come in here and say, okay, maybe I need to modify something. Let's just say for this example, it was a purchase contract or something, and I want to change the price. So clearly I can't type in here because this is all locked. It's a PDF. However, on the left-hand side, and I know it's hard to see with my little stop button there, I'm going to move this over. There is a pencil here for a line. You can come to the line and you click and hold down and kind of draw a line through that. So there, I crossed it out. Then I would come up to standard fields. I want to make sure it's seller one always, and I'm going to add a text box to change the price. So I'm going to go ahead and put a text box here. I'm going to shrink it to fit, and we're going to go ahead and put an amount of $525,000. Let's just say that was the example. So there is now $525,000. Now here's the trick. If I don't want Jonathan to have to touch this or mess with it or edit it, uncheck the required and check the box read only. This is just now a text box that I filled in, and Jonathan can only look at it. He can't modify it or rewrite the price. So I've added that. Well, in order for this to work, I would need their signatures next to it. So I'm now going to take Jonathan's initial, and we're going to come and drag it here. Notice you have a line. If you line the line up here, it will sign it perfectly on the line. For this, I don't have a line, but I'm just teaching you that. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to shrink that initial down to a smaller box. So there's that initial. Then I'm going to switch over to Judy and add her initial right next to it. And just because I want this one change recorded, I'm going to go ahead and give a date signed right next to it so it date and time stamps it. And that might be the only modification I'm doing. Typically, if we're a real estate agent and we don't use an addendum and we make one change to a contract, it could be something as simple as that. So I'm going to go ahead and now send this off. There's tons of tools in here. Come and play. You can also add check boxes if you need to. So let's say I forgot to check something. I can add the checkbox, double click to check it. Also hit the plus sign to add another checkbox and quickly move that one. Hit the plus sign again, add another checkbox. So I love how as I play with this, the faster I get at it. I don't need any of those three, so I'm going to highlight them all and hit delete. So I'm now ready, and we're going to send that to the clients. Now I'm going to go back to my email, and we're going to sign as them. So when I come back here, guess what? Here's that new message I sent, and I'm going to come and review it, and we're going to actually agree to the terms again, and the client is going to initial that one box. So continue, start, here's the one initial, change, there's the price, there's the initial. That will be a finish for him, and then it sends it over to my next client for Judy. I really like the fact that I can put these in order of who signs when. All right, I'm going to come here again. This is now Judy's version. Same process as we did before, and we're just making one change. So she's going to come in and agree to the terms. Click continue, start, sign. Notice this time it added the date and time stamp. It does have the date and timestamp in Pacific Standard Time. Check out our videos on how to fix that in settings to change it to your time zone. So that's another video there. I'm going to hit finish. So now I have this version of the executed contract. By the way, I got an email in my phone and I got an alert as well in the DocuSign app. So now we're going to come back to the DocuSign system. I'm going to refresh, and now I'm going to have the completed of the actual next form. So now when I go to documents, we're going to see that I've got my contracts, I've got everything there, and then I'm going to have another version of my exclusive right. So like I said before, it takes about 20 seconds for the system to update. And there we go. Now I've got one that says signed next to it. So it's going to give me a second version so that I know this is the most recent one that's signed. And for this example, so I don't confuse myself, I'm going to archive the old one here and hide it out of the system. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, so now we come back to command, and guess what? Let's say that was our seller's disclosure, just as an example. I'm going to come here and replace it. So when I replace this and choose DocuSign, it even lets you now tell them why you're replacing it. Fix the section 40. This will help remind your MCA or your compliance person why. So I'm going to look here for the signed version right here, and I'm going to replace that one. Notice now it says changed, and I have the option to resubmit it to my market center. So I'm going to resubmit it to the MCA and our compliance person. So just to show you again what they do, my compliance person then would come into the system. They would go to compliance. They're going to see that here is the most recent one resubmitted. I'm going to review it, and this time they're going to review and accept my files. So they've already accepted the first one. They're going to now come to the second and say, yep, I see all the changes. Oh, good, that looks good. Approve, done, and they're going to change this to approved for me. Yay, I'm approved. And guess what? When you come into command now, it should actually give you an alert telling you that it's been approved. So now when I come here, there you go. Compliance event has been approved. Congratulations. And if you want to go view that one, you just come here to view it. And you will see that now your document is actually approved and you'd be good to go. So currently what happens next is you would then do your green sheet in the MyKW system. In the future, we're going to unlock it to go to the commissions tab. Like I said, that is coming, but it's not here yet. So this is what you would do in command, and then you'd go to the green sheet system like normal. I know there's a lot of information in this. As I said, we've got this amazing interactive PDF that will be attached to this video and available for you on KBIG Connect as well to help with the fastest path. There's tons of other tips and tricks I'm happy to share. So hopefully you found value in this version of teaching you how to use Command, DocuSign, and the opportunities. Stay tuned for another version. I'll do another video like this that talks how to do this with dotloop and more great content as well. So you can always follow me on KBIG Connect or YouTube today. And please make sure that you like this video, leave us a comment, and follow me on KBIG Connect and YouTube today.